Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this video, we will discuss the root locus of this transfer function g of s h of s that is equal to 16.7 into k into s plus 1.5 and divided by s square into this. Okay, so there are 4 poles, as you can see the maximum power in the denominator. So number of poles are equal to 4 and there is 1 0. So m is equal to 1 and the number of loci moving towards the infinity, that will be equal to 3, because one pole will move towards the 0 and the other 3 poles will move towards the zeros which are sitting at the infinity. Now finding out the value of the q for the asymptotic angle calculation, n minus m minus 1, that is equal to 2. So q will be equal to 0, 1 and 2. Right, so now the position of the poles, one pole is at 0, second pole is also at 0, double pole at the origin, and then from this equation we get s is equal to minus 2.5 plus minus j 4.33. So 2 are the complex conjugate poles and the 0 that is sitting at minus 1.5. So now you can sketch the pole 0 map. The double pole over here, 1 0 is sitting over here, and the two poles are at this location, minus 2.5 plus 4.33j, and the other pole is over here. Now next we find out the which portion of the root locus, real axis, is the part of the root locus. So consider a test point over here. So if you look at towards the right, so there are two poles, so this is not the part of the root locus as it is an even number, two poles. Now if I take the test point over here and if I look at towards the right over the real axis, so 1 0 and 2 poles, so total count is 3, so that is an odd number, so that's why this point will be on the root locus. So from here till this point or till infinity, at any point over this real axis will give us the odd number as a count towards the right, then sum of the zeros and the poles, so that will be the part of the root locus. Okay, so this whole axis is the part of the root locus. Okay, now let's calculate the asymptotes, because one pole will be coming toward this 0 over this real axis, and we have these two poles, these two complex poles, those will be moving toward the infinity. Out of this set of pole, one pole will be coming toward the 0 and the other pole will be moving toward the infinity, because its pole will be at the infinity. Right, so one pole will have to come toward this 0 and the rest of the poles will move toward the infinity. So now let's look at the asymptotes along which the poles will move toward the infinity. So for the asymptote we have this equation, theta is equal to 2q plus 1 divided by n minus m into 180 degree, and we have seen that q should be equal to 0, 1 and 2. So by considering these values of the q is equal to 0, theta will be equal to 60 degree by taking q is equal to 0 over here. And what is n minus m? These are the number of loci moving toward the infinity. So n minus m, that is equal to 3. There will be 3 locus which will be moving towards the infinity and zeros at the infinity. So 60 degree, 180 degree and 300 degree are the angles for the asymptotes, and if we calculate the centroid, sum of the real parts of the poles, two poles, minus 5 to minus 2.5 and minus 2.5 and 1 0, whose real part is minus 1.5, the difference of the real part of the poles and the real parts of the zeros divided by n minus m. N minus m is 3, so we will get this one minus 1.167. So our asymptotes will intersect the real axis at this point. So here you can see the sketch. First asymptote is this one. This is at the angle of 60 degree, this, and it is intersecting the real axis at this point, minus 1.167. Sorry, this is 167. So this is the centroid, and the other asymptote will be along this axis at the angle of 180 degree, this one, right, and the third asymptote will be at the angle of 300 degrees, so that is this one. So this angle will be 300 degree. So this is the sketch of the asymptotes. Our poles will be moving toward the zeros which are sitting at the infinity along these asymptotes. Okay, now let's look at the breakaway or the break-in point. So we need to have the characteristic equation that is given as 1 plus g of s into h of s is equal to 0. So we know this expression from, so setting it over here, and from here I can find out the k. So k is equal to this one, and taking the derivative of this k with respect to s, we get this expression, right, and setting it equal to 0 we will get this expression. So from here, if we calculate the root, one root will be at 0, and this will be the real root, and there will be a complex pair of the roots. So these are the breakaway or the break-in points. So now if we look at this value over here, if we take this one and we calculate the k using this expression, so k will be greater than 0, so it is the confirmed break away point, that is at minus 2.855. After calculating this one, now let's look at the j omega crossovers. So for j omega crossovers, we need characteristic equation that can be obtained from this equation, right? So from here, if we solve it, so we will get this expression, that is the characteristic equation. Okay, so from this characteristic equation, now we can develop the Routh table. So here you can see the Routh table, s power 4, s power 3, 2, 1 and 0, starting from here. And with s4, s square and s power 0, we have these terms 1, 25 and 1.5k, and with s3, 5k and 0, so 5k and 0. So 5 into this one minus k divided by 5, you will get this entry. Then 5 into this minus 0 divided by 5, you will get this entry. And then this multiplied with this minus the product of this one divided by this pivot entry. So you will get this expression, and over here there will be the 0 entries. Okay, and then this multiplied with this minus 0 divided by this, so you will get 1.5k. So this is the Routh table. So if we now set this equation equal to 0, the whole row will become 0. So taking this one over here and setting it equal to 0, we get this expression, and simplifying this one, we have this equation. So there are two possible values of the k, either k is equal to 0 or 87.5. So if we test it with 87.5, right, so definitely this is going to become 0. So now why I'm not going to consider k equal to 0, because this, if we consider k is equal to 0, this will also become equal to 0, and that is not possible. The sign change should not be there. So we are going to take k is equal to 87.5. So with that we are going to set up the auxiliary equation with the help of this row right above this one. So taking this equation, because this is the s square term, right, and this is s power 0 term, so setting it equal to 0 and taking the marginal value of the k, that is 87.5, so we will get this one, and this will be 7.5. So solving it, we get s is equal to plus minus 4.18j. So these are the j omega crossovers over here. Now we have two complex poles, so definitely there will be the angle of departures. So let's calculate the angle of departure for this pole. The opposite sign will be there for the this one. So how to find out the angle of departure? 180 degree plus the argument of this part excluding the pole at which you are calculating. So we are calculating at this point, so we will be excluding this pole from this expression of g of s into h of s, right? So argument of this one will be equal to sum of all angle of zeros minus the angle of poles, all the poles excluding that particular pole. So angle of 0, there is 1 0 over here. So now let's look at from this diagram, and we need to find out this angle. So this is at minus 1.5 and this is minus 2.5, right? This is minus 1.5. So what about this length? This is equal to 1. And what about this length? This length will be equal to 4.33 j, right? So if I look at this triangle, so in this triangle, if I look at for this angle alpha, right, let's suppose, so this alpha will be equal to tangent inverse of this 4.33 divided by 1, right? But I need to look at this angle, so 180 degree minus tangent inverse of 4.33 divided by 1, so this is 103 degree. So we have calculated this angle, that is equal to 103 degree. Okay, so that is the angle of the 0. Now the angle of poles. So there are two poles at the origin, double pole. So we need to calculate this angle, because this is the line joining our selected pole with these set of poles. Okay, so how to calculate that one? Again, we can use this triangle, right? This is 4.33 and now this is equal to minus 2.5. So tangent inverse of we are looking for this point. Okay, we need to find out this angle, right? Theta p1 or theta p2, because two poles are at the origin. Okay, so how to find out this one? We need to look at this part. So this is 4.33, and in this triangle, this is not 1.5, this is 2.5, right? So 4.33 divided by 2.5, so this will be equal to 120 degree, because we need to take this angle. If we consider this triangle, we will get this one, and if we subtract this angle from 180 degree, you will get this one, theta p1 and the theta p2. So 180 degree minus this one, so let me write it with this 2.5, so this will give us 120 degree. Okay, and the angle with this one, this pole will always, because these are in the conjugate pair, so this will always be of 90 degree. Okay, so the angle of this open loop gain GFS into HFS excluding this pole, so that will be equal to 103, that is the angle of 0, minus the angle of one pole at the origin, minus the angle of the second pole which is at the origin, and then minus the angle of this pole, right, which is a conjugate pair. So this comes out to be minus 227 degree. So what will be the departure, angle of departure? So angle of departure now can be calculated with the help of this equation, 180 plus this argument. So 180 minus 227, so this is minus 47 degree. And as the root locus is always symmetric around the real axis along, so if this is minus 47 degrees, so this will be at plus 47 degree, it will be moving like that in the mirror image. So by symmetry, the second departure angle will be 47 degree. So if I sketch it over the root locus, this pole will be departing at the angle of minus 47 degree, and this pole will be departing at the angle of plus 47 degree. Okay, now let's look at the complete root locus. We have find out the j omega crossover, centroid, each and everything. So first of all, taking the previous one, this is the part of the root locus, real axis. These are the asymptotes, asymptote 1, asymptote 2, and the asymptote 3. Okay, and marking the departure angles, minus 47 degree, plus 47 degree, right? Now let's sketch the root locus. So the pole which is sitting at the origin over here, and this is not the part of root locus, so it cannot move over this real axis. One pole will be taking this path, coming towards the real axis over here, and this pole is coming from this one, and this is equal to minus 2.855. We have evaluated this as a break-in point in our calculations. So these two poles will enter into the real axis from this one, that's why I'm going to call it the break-in. Okay, and one pole will move toward this 0, and the other pole will move towards the infinity, because its 0 is at infinity, right? And this 0 is finite, so one pole will move toward this 0 with the increase of the gain k, and this pole will depart at the angle of 47 degree from here, but they will have to travel along this asymptote towards the 0 which is sitting at the infinity, right? And similarly this pole, this will depart at the angle of 47 degree, and then finally taking this path along the asymptotes towards the infinity 0, right? So this is the root locus. As the gain k is change, so your poles will change their position. These poles will be changing like this, their position, one moving over here, one moving over here, and these will be moving like this. Okay, now let's look at the MATLAB sketch of the root locus. So this is the expression for the numerator, this is the expression for the denominator. I am using the polynomial command. Two poles are at 0 and the two complex poles, and then defining the transfer function with this command, taking the root locus, and then setting the limits. So here you can see that this pole is moving like this is the path, and the other pole that was at the origin, that is taking this path, moving like that and moving toward the 0 at the infinity. And these poles, these are the complex poles at the angle of 47 degree, it has taken this path and then moving towards the infinity. And similarly this pole taking this path and moving toward the 0 which is sitting at the infinity. So this is the root locus for that one. As the gain k is change, so when they will be crossing the j omega axis, so what is the gain? So that we have already calculated the marginal gain, that is this one, 87.5. If the gain is equal to 87.5, so at that point our root locus will be crossing the j omega axis, that is this one, right? And what will be this j omega crossover? We have already calculated that one as well. So j omega crossover point was equal to 4.18 j, right? So at this point 4.18, if I ask that what is this one, this is 4.18 j. Similarly this one is minus 4.18 j. So at this point the root locus will cross the j omega axis and will move toward the infinity. So in this way you can sketch the root locus for any given open loop transfer function. Using that one you can sketch it. You can get the root locus from the MATLAB within no time, just writing few instructions, but you must have the deep understanding of the steps which are involved in sketching the root locus without the MATLAB, and then you can easily visualize the movement of the closed loop poles in your mind. So in the next video we will discuss more about the root locus and how the root locus can be used for the design of the system. That's all from this. Thank you very much.